Hi, this is Kamal Austin, publisher of the Southeast Queens Scoop, the Black News Scoop, the Scoop on Black News, and other digital publications. And I'm here today. I'm ready. I'm very excited about this interview. Just a little background from my perspective. I think this interview is very important. We're going to talk about financing and scaling Black businesses and minority businesses. And this is very important. This was a theme that we heard uh, the presidential candidate Kamala Harris talk about $50,000. And the reason it's very needed, and I have quite a few years of being an entrepreneur, 30 years, and from the research I've done, less than 1% of Black businesses get access to angel capital, less than 1% get access to
Hmm.
venture capital companies. Although, ironically, Black people who work for the city government and certain corporations spend tens and hundreds of billions of dollars invested into 401ks and pension funds and all of that, which is used by venture capitalists. However, there's very few Black firms that are handling venture capital portfolios,
Hmm.
and there are very few Black companies that get access to those funds as far as going public, the financial markets, and if in fact it's we know that there's only been one Black company on the New York Stock Exchange in the 250-year history, just one
Wow.
company.
Hmm.
And there's only been 13 Black companies on all the stock exchanges. That's the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ, all the other smaller ones. The
Hmm.
American Stock Exchange, there's only been 13 Black companies on those stock exchanges. And today, there's only 8 Black companies that are publicly traded or on the stock exchanges.
Hmm.
So access to capital is something that we have to really work on. Actually, years ago, I wrote a book called Raise Cash Fast, and I talked about how certain companies I actually got loans from. It wasn't just theory, like Axion, which is a Latino um, community-based lending organization. I got loans from them for my business, and then later, other loans I got because of sales through PayPal, and I get some loans from Cash App and
Right,
different
right.
things.
Those little fast loans, right?
Right, right. So, this is a very important topic. How can we scale our businesses by getting access to capital and also, um, being in the game to get um, government contracts? And my guest today, uh, I hope I'm saying it right, Rahni Sumler.
Yes, sir.
Okay. She's here and she's an expert in doing this and has extensive background. And what I like about her is that she's very well traveled also. So,
Yeah.
so Ronnie, thank you for coming into the show, taking time from your busy
Sure,
schedule.
sure.
Uh, and I wanted to ask you, jump right into it. Uh, can you give me a little bit of your background and maybe where you went to school and some of the
Mhm.
things, about your childhood and growing up?
Yeah, sure. So, I also have 30 years of business and I just turned 37. So,
Whoa.
and I say that because like I grew up with a family of entrepreneurs, right?
Right. Hmm.
My dad kind of married into all of this.
Hmm.
But like my great great grandmother, she was able to get her 40 acres and a mule, right? And because of that, we all kind of first of all, we were able to like feed our community, and my family still stays or is still on that place in that place.
Wow.
So we learned like at a very like I learned at a very early age, and we kind of all learned like entrepreneurship, the importance of entrepreneurship and being able to do for ourselves.
Hmm.
Great story. So my father, he had well, I had a project, right, where I had to talk about like, oh, um, the history projects, like, oh, talk to somebody in your family about history, right? So I had two choices. I could either talk to my grandfather, who fought in World War II, love his story, or I could talk to my dad, who I would learn later is actually a civil rights activist. So he tells me his little story, and I go into the high school, and it's like, okay, so desegregation was the worst thing to happen to Black people, right? And my history teacher, like really glib, like white man in a nice suit, right? And this is in North Carolina. He was like, "Wait a minute, don't you think did you say that segregation was the worst thing to happen to Black people?" And it's like, no, it's desegregation, right? And then we went on to have a conversation about like how we don't really see any Black owned grocery stores. We don't really see like Black owned like butchers, bakers, shoemakers. You don't really see that,
Mm-hmm.
despite like us being enslaved and being forced to work here for a good 200 years. We had all those skills. You don't really see Black people doing that for themselves anymore, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the main reason why, and we discussed this, and this is how my dad radicalized like a bunch of high school students. um, the reason why is because we don't have access to the change purse. They desegregated where we could shop, right?
Right, right.
But they didn't
Mm-hmm.
desegregate where we could get access to funding to fund our businesses. And
Mm-hmm.
because of that, like we weren't able to compete in the mainstream. So
Right.
this is kind of what I grew up in. That's the kind of stuff that I grew up with. And when I have conversations with people and I kind of look around, I kind of realize like, yeah, my upbringing was kind of strange. Um, I went to A&T, so I also went to a civil rights activist school, right? North Carolina Agriculture and Technical State University. My dad also went there as well because that was the only place where he was allowed to go after the civil rights movement. And my school, the reason why I was well traveled is because my school sent me everywhere. Like I decided that I wanted to go to South Korea and study electrical engineering, or continue my electrical engineering studies. So they sent me to South Korea. They sent me to Minnesota to do a climate expedition as well. And at some point, I ended up in Cambodia. Like, so
Wow.
I was really well traveled in school. And while I was out there traveling, one, I was helping a lot of professionals, research researchers with bringing their business ideas to market. And I really didn't realize I was writing their grants, I was writing like their business proposals and everything, like back as early as 2010, 20. So I've been doing what I've been doing for like the past like 20 years or so now.
Mm. Wow. Well, I'm 68 and you're 37 and you have as much business experience as me. Almost, so that's quite impressive. That's
It's
quite
it's
impressive.
it's it's, it's a little cheat. I was kind of like my dad had me carrying around his briefcase, so I count that.
Hmm. Hmm.
And it's
Well,
it's so strange because he was actually doing the same thing. He was actually helping small businesses with getting advertising, getting contracts and stuff like that. So I've kind of like strangely flowed over him. I'm doing what he was doing. So
yeah, it's interesting. I think that from my perspective now, I sort of feel that desegregation was sort of a mixed bag in the
mm-hmm.
sense that, for instance, since the Civil Rights Act and affirmative action and all those things, which are being challenged, quite frankly, by Donald Trump now,
Right,
uh,
right.
um, which is another reason I'm really happy to have you on because we have to figure out uh, what we're going to do moving forward since we're not going to get a lot of support from the government. You
Correct.
know, you know, a Donald Trump government. They're already attacking DEI and a whole bunch of things. They're
Mm-hmm.
even attacking the you might have heard of the women's investment fund, the Fearless Fund, where
Yep.
black
It got
women,
sued.
yeah, they got sued by the same guy who attacked affirmative action in education, Edward
Mm-hmm.
Bloom, the same guy.
Mm-hmm.
So they basically are attacking black people for investing and supporting each other in business. You know what?
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
basically what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
So it's the thing is that we have, since desegregation, we have, depending on how you do the calculation, we have about 10 Black billionaires, right? At this point. And we have over 1 million Black millionaires. I've read anywhere from 1 million to 1.7 million, depending on how they're, doing a calculation, because
How
some
they're
people,
classified, whether it's
right,
property
right.
or cold cash. Yeah.
Right. And sometimes if they don't count if your residence property as far as an investment, you have to have
Hmm.
other properties and investment, you know.
Hmm.
It depends on the company that's doing the analysis. But the bottom line is we have twice as many millionaires, anywhere from 2 to 3 times as many millionaires
Hmm.
now as we do people who are incarcerated, although blacks are always projected as constantly incarcerated or have criminals and things like that. Since
Hmm.
we have all these millionaires and people like that, you would think that they would change the tropes and the stereotypes, but they don't. But the thing
No.
is, the point I want to get back to is most of our people who are millionaires, like most Americans, get it through real estate,
Hmm.
and 92% of Black businesses have no employees. 80% of small businesses in the United States, not much better, 80% of businesses in the United States have no employees.
Hmm.
So the ability to scale your business, especially, we talked about the lack of access to capital, makes it very important for persons like you to enter that void and fill that need to help us,
Hmm. Hmm.
which is one of the reasons that I wanted to have you on the show. Now, let me ask you, uh, what really was I know you have this background in business, right? And
Hmm.
you have a
Hmm.
very rich family, roots in entrepreneurialism. But what was the joke, or was it a joke? What really sort of inspired you to start your business now, where you're actually trying to help finance, grow, and scale, and help Black businesses get contracts?
Hmm. So, kind of mentioned it before, but
Right.
my dad was basically doing the same thing that I'm
Hmm.
doing now. Now that I'm
Right.
realizing, I kind of made that realization like maybe a couple weeks ago, like, wait a minute. But my dad had like all these businesses. He had a newspaper, he had rental houses, he had like a couple like community organization programs that he wanted to do. But then he suddenly passed away, right?
Mm.
And all of those things died with him because like he wrote things down, but he wrote them down the back of napkins. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's been a decade since then, but
Hmm.
like really we haven't been able to put those things back together in the way that they should. And this is often what happens. Like you said, like most of our Black businesses, we don't have employees. It's only one
Yeah.
person working.
Hmm.
And if something happens to that person, I mean, they don't even have to die. They just have to become incapacitated. We lose that business, right?
Hmm.
So I started out like kind of looking around, and really it's the same story with my other family members as well, since we all are entrepreneurs. My sisters, they all have their own businesses too. Um, they are all the sole worker. They all, and it's the same because that's what we saw and that's what we emulate, right? So I started my business. I actually started my business. It was like the last thing I got to talk to my dad about. And I was thinking I was going to do like some
Hmm.
IT, something another. Um, but after he passed away and after I was exposed to this problem where we're losing our businesses,
Hmm.
and he was able to even employ people. So he was actually rare in that he was actually employing people.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, and all those people who he employed, they lost their jobs and they haven't really been able to recover ever since, right?
Hmm.
Um, that's what really inspired me to do what I'm doing. One of the things, and I've been doing it for the past 10 years. And one of the major things that I noticed is, like you said, that we're not hiring our own.
Hmm.
There is a big disconnect when someone starts a business of what the purpose of that business is. And it really depends upon the industry and everything else, but your highest calling as a small business in your community is to make job for other people. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
Wow.
Um, my dad, it was either my dad or like he hung around a lot of other activists. But I remember overhearing a conversation, and basically what came out of the conversation is that the cruelest thing that we do to our children is we tell them to go to school, and then we send them out there into the cruel world where they have to work for somebody else.
Right.
That's the cruelest thing you can do because they don't care like like our people, our children. Um, our other communities don't really care about the development of our people.
Mm-hmm. Right. Right.
And I mean, we have some allies out there. Shout out to them who they do. In fact, one of my first internships, this little old weird hippie man who worked at Time Warner Cable, he like sat me down and he was like, I want to inspire you and I want to make sure that when you leave from this and you can take something away from this internship. And we had a discussion about what I want to do. And I was like, oh, I'm going to write a manual. And I've been writing manuals ever since, right? So, but that's rare, right? You're really just kind of subjected to the whims of the marketplace. And as we know, the marketplace is not very kind. So, what we need to do is that we need to sharpen up our businesses so that one, we can start employing our own because your business is not in the community to sell services and you make money. Your business is here to make money and create jobs for the people in your community. That's
Mm.
what your business is here to do. Right. You're
Right.
supposed to attract people in. You're supposed to bring people in from other communities, and it can happen here in New York. I've seen people travel across the city just to get a burrito, right? Just to get something that they cannot get in their neighborhood. So your job as a small business is to bring people into the community to purchase from you, and everybody benefits from it. Like the people, you make living wages and you can support three families. That's the real flex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get you. I get you.
Hmm. And
Can
the
you?
most important, oh, I'm sorry. And the most important thing, kind of following up after what happened with my dad, is your employees can inherit your business.
Mm-hmm. I
It doesn't
see.
have to be your kids, because they're going to want to go do their own things. Your employees can inherit your business, and that's how you get longevity. Is that you have employees that you've been taking care of their family for however many decades, and then when it comes time for you to retire, they take over and they pay into your pension. That's the
Absolutely.
that's the goal.
Right. Well, we're a little short of time. We had some mishaps, and I hope to be
Yeah,
able
no
to
worries.
interview you again. I hope to be able to interview you again. But let me
Yeah.
ask you really quickly, in
Hmm.
about 4 to 5 minutes, can you tell us Digital Dandelions? Can you tell
Hmm.
us what you do in your company and the products and well, the services and products that you offer?
Sure.
About 4 minutes.
Sure. So we have something called the Business Scaling Suite. It's a five-step process to get you from formulating your idea or trying to expand your business to getting you to government contracting or getting you to doing corporate contracting. Because remember before, the whole purpose is to bring people into the community. One way of doing that is getting a corporation to be your client and they pay your
Mm-hmm.
fees, right?
Right.
So, but in order to do that, you have to scale. So, we have a five-step process to help you scale up your business, get the funding that you need, recognizing and going through your operations, documenting your operations, assigning the tasks, getting people to work, and then finally going through the RFP request for proposal process, which is a whole extensive process. We have services just for that. So one of the major things that campaigns that we're working on right now is we have a partnership with an SBA lender, and if you're trying to, especially in this time where people are trying to become more stable and to own where they work, right? No more renting. or you lease to own or whatever you need to do to get the property where your business is located. Um, we're working with the SBA to do SBA, basically SBA mortgages, where you get a mortgage from the government, you pay them, they have spectacular rates, and it starts off at $600,000. So we help you with that paperwork, and the SBA lender will help with the approval process.
Gotcha. Okay, well, I gotta get you back for another session.
Oh yeah, of
Yeah,
course. It's fun.
I gotta get you back because you've shared some amazing information and you have some boss skills. So I'd like to have you back for another interview. But
Sure.
yeah, but thank you for your information. And for the people listening, we will have links to her site, both on our YouTube channel and on our website. And we will have other information about Digital Dandelions on YouTube. And so you'll be able to, after you watch this, you'll be able to look in the description and you'll see the links. All right. So, Ronnie, how do I say it? Ronnie?
Yeah, Ronnie.
Ronnie, okay.
Hmm.
Okay, so it was a pleasure interviewing you. And, the Southeast Queens Scoop, what we do community news from an economic and business perspective. That's our forte. And I'm glad Ronnie was able to come with us on the show today and share her expertise. And if you like what we do, share, like, and become a supporter of our community news channel. We've covered over 5,000 businesses, community events, and cultural institutions in Southeast Queens in our 10-year history. So, Ronnie, I want to sign off, and let's do this again. And let's not make it
Yeah,
something that
sure,
happens
sure.
too far down in the future.
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Thanks for having me.
it's been a pleasure. Thank you.